Ethan stepped into the dimly lit restaurant, heart pounding, palms steady. Every detail had been planned, every move calculated. His eyes locked on the couple at the corner table. Jessica was laughing, her hand grazing his wrist. Tyler, the other man. The man she thought would be meeting her tonight. Except he wasn't. Ethan took a slow, deliberate step forward, pulling out a crisp envelope from his jacket. As Jessica looked up, expecting her lover, her face morphed from flirtatious delight to sheer horror. Surprise, Ethan said, his voice calm, too calm. He placed the envelope on the table, sliding it towards her. She blinked, hands trembling as she reached for it. The moment her eyes scanned the bold divorce papers, the color drained from her face. And then she saw the note attached. You are homeless now. Jessica's mouth opened, closed, no words coming out. Around them, whispers stirred. Tyler shifted uncomfortably, looking between them, confusion flickering in his eyes. Ethan leaned in, voice low but laced with ice. You thought he'd be here tonight. Thought you could keep laughing behind my back. But I have news for you, sweetheart. I don't lose. She inhaled sharply, eyes darting around, as if searching for an escape. But there wasn't one. This wasn't just a confrontation. This was a reckoning. 3 weeks earlier, Ethan never thought he'd be the kind of man to spy on his own wife. He used to believe in trust, in loyalty, the kind of love that didn't need proof. But trust wasn't a shield against betrayal. And right now, as he sat in his car outside the house, staring at Jessica's name glowing on his phone screen, he knew that his instincts had been right all along. She was lying. Again. She had texted him just half an hour ago. Going out with the girls. Don't wait up. Ethan exhaled slowly, gripping the steering wheel. He had played along, pretending to believe her. But deep down, something didn't sit right. The way she had rushed to get ready, the nervous energy in her voice, the forced kiss on his cheek before she left. And then there was the perfume. Jessica wore expensive perfumes, delicate, floral, subtle. But tonight, she had practically bathed in something heavier, muskier. The kind of scent a woman wears when she wants to be noticed. Ethan clenched his jaw. He hadn't wanted to be this guy. The jealous, paranoid husband tracking his wife's movements. But she had forced his hand. He tapped the screen, opening the app he had installed a few days ago. Jessica's car was parked on the other side of town, nowhere near the upscale bar she had claimed she was going to. Instead, it was outside a quiet, intimate restaurant. Not with the girls, huh? His chest tightened as a sick feeling curled in his stomach. He could have turned the car around, pretended he never saw it. But no, he had already swallowed too many lies. He needed to see it for himself. His fingers hovered over his phone screen. He had debated hiring a private investigator, but why waste money when he could handle this himself? With one last deep breath, he put the car into drive. The restaurant was a cozy, dimly lit place. The kind of place where couples shared candlelit dinners, whispered sweet nothings, and made promises in hushed voices. The kind of place she used to love when she was with him. Ethan stayed by the entrance, eyes scanning the tables. Then he saw her, Jessica, and him, Tyler. Ethan didn't know the guy, but he could tell everything he needed just by looking at him. A confident smirk, tailored suit, relaxed posture. He wasn't just some fling. He was comfortable with Jessica, like this wasn't their first time meeting. Jessica, on the other hand, was radiant in a way that made Ethan's stomach churn. She was leaning in, laughing, touching Tyler's arm in that intimate, familiar way. The same way she used to touch him. He wasn't sure how long he stood there, frozen in place. Seconds? Minutes? But something inside him snapped. He took out his phone, raising it just enough to capture the perfect shot. Jessica, smiling at another man, her hand on his, her wedding ring hidden beneath the table. Gotcha. He turned and walked out before his rage got the best of him. This wasn't the time to confront her. Not yet. That night, Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Jessica slipped into bed beside him, her breath warm against his shoulder, acting like nothing had happened. He stayed silent, letting her lies settle between them like a wall. She had no idea what was coming. Ethan didn't sleep that night. Jessica lay beside him, her breathing steady, peaceful, completely unaware that the man she had betrayed was wide awake, staring at the ceiling, planning her downfall. Her phone vibrated on the nightstand. A message. From him. Ethan's jaw clenched. He didn't need to look to know who it was. Tyler. He wanted so badly to grab the phone, shove it in her face, demand the truth. But that would be too easy. She would cry, lie, gaslight, twist the situation until he was somehow the bad guy. No, he needed to be smarter. Ethan quietly slipped out of bed, grabbed his own phone, and stepped into the bathroom, locking the door behind him. His fingers moved quickly, opening the app that tracked Jessica's location. She had no idea he had installed it on her phone last week. She had been careful, deleting messages, making sure she came home at a reasonable hour, but she had underestimated him. And now, he had evidence. His heart pounded as he scrolled through the photos he had taken earlier that night. Jessica, laughing. Jessica, touching Tyler's arm. Jessica, leaning in just a little too close. A perfect picture of betrayal. He exhaled, gripping the phone tighter. This wasn't about confronting her. This was about taking everything from her, just like she had tried to take everything from him. The next morning, Jessica acted like nothing had happened. She hummed as she made coffee, scrolling through her phone, a fake, innocent smile on her lips. Ethan watched from across the kitchen, suppressing the urge to slam his fist through the table. "Did you have fun last night?" he asked, his tone casual. Jessica barely looked up. The girls and I had a blast." He smiled. "Liar." She turned, leaning against the counter. "You okay? You look tired." "I didn't sleep much." He took a sip of coffee, meeting her gaze. "Had a lot on my mind." Jessica frowned, but quickly covered it up with another fake smile. "Work stuff?" "Something like that." She moved closer, resting a hand on his shoulder. The same hands that had touched another man last night. A deep rage burned inside him, but he forced himself to stay calm. He wasn't ready to strike yet. Not until everything was perfect. For the next few days, Ethan played his role perfectly. He acted normal. He kissed her goodbye in the morning. He sent her casual texts. He even brought home her favorite takeout one night. Jessica, completely oblivious, continued living her double life. Ethan, however, was 10 steps ahead. He hired a private investigator, not because he needed proof, but because he wanted every detail. Where she met Tyler. How often. What they talked about. Who paid for dinner. Everything. And then, he took the next step. A lawyer. He made sure to find the best, someone who specialized in winning big, ugly divorces. A man who knew how to destroy cheaters. Infidelity cases are easy to win, the lawyer had said, flipping through the file Ethan provided. Especially when you have this much evidence. Jessica had no idea, but she had already lost. 1 week later, Ethan sat in his car, gripping the crisp envelope in his hands. Inside, divorce papers. And not just any divorce papers. Ones that would leave Jessica with nothing. He had spent days preparing this moment. He had timed everything perfectly. Jessica had made plans with Tyler again. Another secret dinner at the same restaurant. Predictable. But tonight would be different. Because tonight, when she looked up, expecting her lover, she would see her husband instead. And when she did, she would realize that everything she had built with Tyler was nothing compared to what she had just lost. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. It was time. Ethan walked into the restaurant with steady steps, his heart a controlled storm beneath the surface. He had rehearsed this moment in his head 100 times. He wasn't here to scream, to cry, or to beg for explanations. No, he was here to end it, on his terms. Jessica was seated at a cozy corner table, candlelight flickering between her and Tyler. She was laughing, leaning in close, just like she had in the photo Ethan had taken last week. So comfortable, so sure she had gotten away with it. Her fingers brushed Tyler's wrist as she spoke, her eyes filled with a warmth Ethan hadn't seen in years. And that's when it hit him. She had checked out of their marriage a long time ago. But she hadn't walked away. She had stayed, lying to his face every single day. Ethan didn't break his stride. He moved with purpose, the crisp envelope in his grip. Jessica noticed him a second too late. Her smile froze, her body stiffening as her eyes met his. For a split second, panic flickered in her gaze. Then came the cover-up. Ethan. She forced out a nervous laugh, sitting up straighter. What are you doing here? Tyler frowned, glancing between them. You know this guy? Ethan pulled out a chair and sat down, calm as ever. You could say that. Jessica swallowed hard, her eyes darting around the room, as if searching for an escape. Too late. Ethan slid the envelope across the table, tapping it once. Go on. Open it. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. Tyler leaned in, curious. The moment her eyes scanned the words petition for divorce, all the color drained from her face. Ethan, keep reading, he said, his voice steady, controlled. Jessica's mouth parted as she flipped through the pages. Then she saw it. The financial terms, the loss of everything she had taken for granted. The house, gone. The bank accounts, frozen. The luxury car she loved so much, no longer hers. Her breathing turned shallow. You can't. I already did. Ethan leaned forward, lowering his voice just enough for only her to hear. You thought I'd sit back and let you make a fool out of me? Thought I'd just cry in some corner while you played house with him? He tilted his head toward Tyler, who was now watching the scene unfold with growing unease. Jessica's hands gripped the paper so tightly that it crumpled. This is insane, she hissed. You're overreacting. We can talk about this. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. No, we can't. Jessica's mask cracked. The fake innocence was gone. In its place, anger. Oh, so you think you're some tough guy now? She spat. You think you can just walk in here and ruin my life? Ethan exhaled through his nose, tapping the table. Jessica, you did that yourself. She glared at him, her nostrils flaring. Then she turned to Tyler, as if expecting him to say something, to defend her. But Tyler? He was already leaning back in his chair, running a hand through his hair, uncomfortable. He hadn't signed up for this. Look, man, I had no idea she was married, he said, raising his hands. I don't want any part of this. Jessica whipped around, her eyes widening. Tyler, what the hell? Tyler stood up, tossing a few bills on the table. I don't do drama. I'm out. Without another word, he walked out of the restaurant, leaving Jessica sitting there, humiliated. Ethan almost felt bad for her. Almost. Jessica turned back to him, seething. You think this makes you a man? Embarrassing me like this? Ethan smirked. No, Jessica. What makes me a man is knowing my worth, and making sure you never get to use me again. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. The weight on his shoulders? Gone. Jessica was still fuming, her hands clenched into fists. You'll regret this, Ethan. He leaned down, looking her dead in the eye. No, you will. Then, without another glance, he walked away. Jessica was nothing to him now. Ethan walked out of the restaurant into the crisp night air, feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. For weeks, he had been drowning in betrayal, anger, and resentment. But now? Now, Jessica knew the truth. She knew she had lost. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. He smirked. Predictable. He answered. What? You think you're so smart, don't you? Jessica's voice hissed through the speaker, sharp and venomous. You think you can just ruin my life and walk away like some big hero? Ethan laughed. Ruin your life? Jessica, I just returned the favor. There was a pause. He could almost picture her, pacing in a fit of rage, gripping her phone like it was the only thing keeping her from exploding. I hope you enjoyed your little show, she spat. Because this isn't over. Ethan sighed, rubbing his temple. Jessica, it was over the moment you decided to cheat. You just didn't realize it until tonight. Silence. Then, click. She had hung up. Good. Ethan exhaled, tossing his phone onto the passenger seat of his car. He had done what he came to do. Jessica was out of his life. The divorce papers were served. She had no power over him anymore. Or so he thought. The next morning, he woke up to a barrage of text messages. Friends, family, even his boss. Each message had the same tone: concern, confusion, shock. Frowning, he opened the first one. Hey man, what the hell is going on? Why is Jessica posting all this? His stomach tightened. He quickly switched to social media. And there it was. A long, dramatic post from Jessica, playing the victim perfectly. After years of emotional neglect, my husband suddenly decided to ambush me in public, humiliate me, and throw away our marriage. I tried so hard, but in the end, he was just too cold, too controlling. No woman deserves this kind of treatment. I never cheated. I was just trying to find support where he refused to give it. And now, he's trying to leave me with nothing. Please, don't believe his lies. Hundreds of comments. Some from people Ethan barely knew. Wow, I always knew he was a jerk. You deserve better, Queen. What a monster. Taking everything from his wife? That's abusive. Ethan clenched his fists. Unbelievable. She wasn't just trying to save face. She was trying to destroy his reputation. His phone buzzed again. This time, a call from his boss. Ethan took a deep breath and answered. Ethan, came the voice on the other end. I don't know what's going on with your wife, but people are talking. We need to get ahead of this. Ethan's jaw tightened. Jessica was trying to burn him down. She had already lost the marriage, so now? She wanted to take everything else. His job, his reputation, his future. Ethan inhaled sharply. She wanted war? Fine. She was about to learn what happened when you pushed a man too far. Ethan stared at his phone, Jessica's manipulative social media post burning into his vision. His blood boiled, but his mind? It was clear, focused, ready. She wanted to ruin his reputation, make him out to be the villain, and paint herself as the heartbroken wife who had been abandoned. Big mistake. Ethan wasn't the same man she had controlled for years. He had spent the last few months preparing for this exact moment. She thought she was playing chess. She didn't even know the rules. The first thing he did was call his lawyer. Ethan, Daniel answered almost immediately. I saw the post. You good? Ethan exhaled sharply. Not yet. But I will be. Listen, we need to hit back. Hard. Daniel didn't even hesitate. Already on it. I've got screenshots, evidence, everything. The court will see through her lies. Ethan smirked. Good. But I don't want to just win in court. I want her to regret ever trying this. A pause. Then Daniel chuckled. Now you're speaking my language. Phase 1. The truth bomb. Ethan logged into his own social media and dropped the hammer. No emotional rant. No vague posts. Just cold, hard evidence. Screenshots of her texts to Tyler. Bank statements showing her secret spending. Private messages where she mocked Ethan behind his back. The caption? Simple. Ruthless. Lies only work when there's no proof. Here's mine. The internet exploded. The same people who had flooded Jessica's post with sympathy were now deleting their comments, backtracking, or outright turning against her. Wow, so she was lying this whole time. I feel dumb for believing her. Yeah, no sympathy for cheaters. Within hours, Jessica's entire narrative collapsed. But Ethan wasn't done yet. The next call Ethan made was to his boss. Listen, he said, keeping his voice level. Jessica is lashing out because I left her. She's lying, and I can prove it. His boss sighed. Yeah, I figured. People are already seeing through it. Don't worry about your job. Ethan smirked. One less thing she could take from him. Jessica had always prided herself on her image. She loved being the center of attention, adored by mutual friends, respected in social circles. But now, she was toxic, untouchable. Friends distanced themselves. People she once manipulated refused to back her up. Then came the call from her landlord. Jessica's voice, frantic, filled Ethan's voicemail. Ethan, you need to stop this. I just got a notice that my lease is being terminated. What am I supposed to do? Ethan smirked, shaking his head. Actions have consequences. He called her back, keeping his voice cold. Unbothered. That's not my problem, Jessica. She gasped, as if truly realizing, for the first time, that she had lost. And Ethan? He had won. Ethan sat in his apartment, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring out at the city lights. It was almost over. Jessica had been exposed. Her lies had unraveled. Her reputation was in flames, and now? She was out of options. His phone buzzed on the table. Jessica. For a second, he considered ignoring it. But curiosity got the better of him. He picked up, a shaky breath on the other end. Then sobs. Ethan, please. He stayed silent, letting her squirm in the silence. I lost my apartment, she stammered. Tyler won't talk to me. My friends, our friends, they won't even answer my calls. I have nowhere to go. Ethan leaned back, unfazed. And Jessica let out a desperate laugh, the kind people give when they realize they have nothing left to bargain with. You don't have to take me back, she whispered. I know I messed up. But Ethan, you loved me once. Please, just let me stay with you until I figure things out. A month ago, those words might have made him hesitate. But now, Ethan chuckled. Cold. Detached. Jessica, he said, voice steady. You didn't just cheat on me. You lied. You manipulated. You tried to destroy my life because I wouldn't let you get away with it. A pause. You're not my problem anymore. Jessica let out a choked sob. Ethan, please. I don't have anywhere else to. Click. Ethan hung up. For the first time in years, he felt free. The divorce was finalized a few weeks later. Jessica tried to fight for alimony, but the evidence against her was too damning. The court ruled in Ethan's favor. She got nothing. As he walked out of the courthouse, Daniel clapped him on the back. That's game, my friend. Ethan smirked. Game, set, and match. He checked his phone one last time. A message from Jessica. I hope you're happy. Ethan smiled, deleting it without responding. Yes, he was.